The San Diego Padres. Love 'em, hate 'em, you know their story. Mediocre. 1984, Padres' only pending winning season was an anomaly in the C500 baseball. But in 1996, the Padres won the division on the backs of their first MVP, Ken Caminiti, and the face of the franchise, Tony Gwynn. And in 1998, they weren't just back, they were in full force. Becoming the 98 NL champs, supplemented by an all-time great team, the 98 Yankees. But before long, they're back to their old ways. The San Diego Padres finished their 2003 season with the worst record in baseball, finishing last in the division for the third time in their previous 4 years. A down-on-the-luck franchise went from the highest stage so sharply you could almost hear it. But there was a consolation prize. Matt Bush was a Mission Bay High School pitcher slash shortstop who found success in every facet of the game. But Matt Bush wasn't the Padres' first choice, nor their second. It could be said that Bush wasn't even their third choice, as the Padres had a college shortstop graded just as highly as him. But both were still afterthoughts leading up to the draft, as the Padres had two other pitchers in their crosshairs at first overall. But there were sendability concerns. Concerns that the Padres might have had to pony up for what was perceived to be a more refined product out of college. Rather than risk not being able to sign their first-round pick, the Padres looked into their backyard and saw a local boy get 4 hits and 5 trips at the plate in the Division III championship. They figured Bush had the higher upside and made a lifelong fan's dream come true. Now a member of the San Diego Padres, Matt Bush traveled to their spring training facility in Peoria, Arizona, after being assigned to their short-season rookie league. The journey had just begun, but this trip required a chauffeur, and Matt Bush's older brother Jeremy was coming along for the ride. Unfortunately, Jeremy Bush had his fair share of brushes with the law, and old habits die hard. Less than 2 weeks after the draft, the Bushes snuck into a bar across the street from the Padres spring training facility and were arrested. Bush started off on the wrong foot and ended his first professional season going 19 for 99. Bush's outfield issues seemingly exacerbated his on-field production. Injuries limited his opportunities and hindered his performance. Bush became slow and sluggish, his bat speed drastically diminished by his newfound weight, brought on by heavy drinking and limited activity, caused by a broken ankle. After he started the 2007 season going 20 for 98 in High A, the Padres elected to have Bush revisit pitching. Despite losing a step out on the field, Bush's arm remained strong and true, his natural talent thriving in the face of his own struggles. His fastball, touching 94 in high school, reached 98 miles an hour after 3 years away from the mound, and brought him 16 strikeouts and 2 walks in 7 8-ball outings. Bush was back on track. Matt Bush's recovery time had him missing the entirety of 2008, but the Padres saw promise and bought into the new Matt Bush, so they added him to their 40-man roster, protecting him from the Rule 5 draft, a yearly minor league draft to plug players from organizations who might be stockpiling. Bush was once again caught in the act, this time on camera. In the parking lot of a San Diego high school, Matt Bush was caught on film drunkenly assaulting a high school lacrosse player with a golf club and shouting obscenities. After having earned the trust of the Padres organization, Bush was caught with his pants down in his own backyard. Days later, he would be designated for assignment, taking him off the 40-man roster and placing him on waivers, meaning the Padres would have to trade Bush, release him, or outright him to the minors. Matt Bush would no longer be a part of the San Diego Padres. The dream wasn't dead, it had turned into a nightmare. On February 10, 2009, the Toronto Blue Jays acquired Matt Bush for essentially nothing. His new team was well aware of his extracurriculars and put him on a zero-tolerance policy. If Bush wanted to continue his career as a pitcher, crack the big leagues, he was going to have to stay on the straight and narrow. Coming out of spring training, Bush had only appeared in 1 game, and the Blue Jays had a few other highly touted relievers who were just as young and had been pitching full-time from the get-go. In the final week of spring training, Matt Bush went to a local party, accused a woman of drawing on his face, and threw a baseball in her general direction. The Blue Jays got word of the incident and granted Bush his immediate release. If he wanted to throw baseballs in his spare time, he was more than welcome to do so, but he wouldn't be doing it as a member of the Toronto Blue Jays organization. Bush went home and sat out that summer. Well, not the whole summer. In the summer of 2009, Bush was once again caught in a parking lot, day drinking and out of control. Matt Bush could not stop getting in his own way. That offseason, the Tampa Bay Rays, an organization gaining notoriety for grabbing players from thin air and getting the most out of them, showed some interest and signed Bush to a minor league contract. In spring training of 2010, the Rays liked what they saw and assigned Bush to their AA affiliate, a minor league team 2 steps removed from the majors. That season, Bush did alright for himself, finishing the season in high labor situations. The 2011 season went much of the same way. Bush performed well in high leverage situations, and by the end of the season, he had earned a promotion to AAA. And while he never saw any action at that level, it was nice just to be there. But the highest of highs precede the lowest of lows. In the final week of spring training 2012, Matt Bush was told he was going to start the season at the AAA level and went for the ride of his life the following day. Matt Bush stole his roommate's car, ran over a motorcyclist, fled the scene, went to a strip club, tried to climb on stage, was kicked out, and found hours later. The Rays placed him on the restricted list and released him at the end of the season. Bush was sentenced to 51 months in prison. Bush was released to a halfway house with no excitement, no fanfare, and no interest. Local Golden Corral was giving him a chance, and Matt Bush could begin his life anew. But baseball never left Bush. His father mails him 2 gloves and some baseballs. He still turns to the game to find solace, and Rangers player advisor Roy Silver comes back to Bush in his time of need. Roy Silver has always been there, in Toronto during spring training, in Tampa Bay as a roommate. Roy had been there. He understood. And he was back. But not to recruit Bush, at least not yet. He was there to keep him on the path, the straight and narrow that eluded him all those years. For months, Silver and Bush played catch in that Golden Corral parking lot until the cavalry came. And reports sent back to the Rangers front office brought back memories of the old Bush. But he paid his dues, he received praise from scouts, and the Rangers invited Bush to a tryout. He held himself accountable, he performed, and the Rangers signed Bush. After starting the season in Double-A Frisco, a month into the Major League season, the Rangers cleared out a spot in the roster and made the call. Matt Bush was a big leaguer. And not just a big leaguer, quality arm out of the bullpen, a high leverage reliever in a tight playoff race. 2017 wasn't as smooth as it could have been, but Bush still provided respectable relief outings for a team trending down. But in 2018, Bush truly faced adversity on the biggest stage, getting sent out early in the season before needing surgery to repair a torn ligament in his throwing arm. He became a free agent after the season, but re-signed with the Rangers to recover and keep on the straight and narrow. And midway through 2019, he looks like he's back. Bush tears his UCL. He needs Tommy John surgery a second time, and he's not getting any younger. Bush misses the entirety of the 2020 season. He's on his way out of baseball. Except, he's back. It's spring training, he's 35, and he's striking guys out. Bush makes the opening day roster. Unfortunately, week into the season, Bush is getting hit hard. An attendance sprain knocks him out for the season. Once again, Matt Bush faces what might be the end of his Major League career. Except, it's September, and Bush is in Round Rock on a rehab assignment. And while he's not great, he has scored his through 4 outings. Matt Bush, a relief pitcher on the wrong side of 30, on a team that is desperately trying to rebuild by getting younger, is placed back on a 25-man roster for the final day of the regular season. He pitches a quiet scoreless inning in a bid to control his own future.